Center for Spiritual Living, Fullerton. We are a loving spiritual community, empowering all to live healthy and successful lives through practicing the principles of science of mind. Good morning and God morning to each and every one of you. I am Beverley Brezden, and it is indeed my pleasure to serve as practitioner and host on this most beautiful Sunday morning. I now invite you to close your eyes and take a few cleansing breaths to release from all concerns of the day. And now let us gently go within to the sanctuary of our being, where we commune with the divine. For it is right here and right now that we feel and know that God is all there is, and that we are one with eternal goodness and givingness of God. And for this we are so blessed in knowing that acceptance is our key to freedom. For it is our unconditional acceptance of situations just as they are that keeps us feeling free throughout all the seasons of our lives. And even though we may choose to work toward desired changes, we no longer need to have them in a certain way or according to our timetable to feel good about ourselves. We become more flexible as we navigate life's shifting rhythms with ease and with grace, accepting and embracing this now moment just as it is our gateway to lasting freedom. And now with grateful hearts we bless our beautiful sanctuary and Reverend Dr. Bill Salisbury for his inspiring talk titled The Freedom of Interdependence. And for sharing of their time and talent, we bless Tomoko Rosas, who is filming today's service, and Tommy Constantino, our musical director and our most handsome soloist as well. We bless each practitioner for their prayers and the board for their time and wisdom. We are so thankful for each of these remarkable loving people who make this service a joyful celebration and a deepening of our connection to Spirit and to each other. And together in community, we now say, and so it is.
I need to be still and let God love me. I need to be still, let God love me. When this old world starts to push and shove me, I need to be still and let God love me.
Our reading for today comes from an article by Edward Eukins. It is titled, Individualism and Freedom, Vital Pillars of Our True Communities. Individualism and independence liberate interdependence. In the bestseller 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey observes that interdependence is a choice that only independent people can make. A positive principle-centered or value-driven person organizes their experiences as their life priorities with integrity and builds rich, enduring, and productive relationships with others. True independence of character enables a person to act rather than be acted upon. Independence of character requires one to integrate principles or virtues such as integrity, courage, justice, honesty, and fairness into their nature. When interdependent people combine their efforts with the like-minded efforts of others, they achieve even greater success and happiness. They are self-reliant and capable people who realize that more can be accomplished by working together than by working alone. They choose to share themselves with others, to learn from them, understand them, and love them, and therefore have access to the resources, wisdom, and potential of other people in their tribe. They know that it is impossible to achieve human fulfillment in isolation, and their needs can only be met by cooperation. They are spiritually and socially mature. And now let us go into prayer. Father, Mother of all that I am, may I be fully present in this time and place. May I accept myself the way I am. May I accept my brothers and sisters just as they are. May I accept life as it is unfolding right now. May I take all that is into my heart and be at peace with it. May my heart open, releasing fear and desire. May my acceptance of your guiding presence allow me to surrender to the freedom of now. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you, God. Thank you, God.
When I forget and the way seems dark, when I've lost the song in my heart, I look inside my heart and soul and start again, knowing I'm whole. God is right here where I am. I am right here where I should be. As I fill my heart with peace, I feel it washing over me. God is right here where I am, flowing in and out and through me. In this moment, I am free.
Good morning and welcome. I am Reverend Bill Salisbury. Delighted to be here after a little mini vacation. And thank you, Beverley, for that little bit about from the Stephen Covey book. So let me begin with this. Our overarching theme for the month is soaring like an eagle. No, free to soar. It's free to soar. And the title of today's talk is The Freedom of Interdependence. This being the month of July, we like that idea of freedom. And when we think of freedom, we think of the eagle soaring in the sky. But even that eagle, as free to soar as it is dependent upon so many other things in order to keep that life and that freedom that he or she has. And I want to begin with this about interdependence, because Stephen Covey made a distinction between the types of dependence that we might experience. So, and there's a language to this dependence. So if my languaging is, you need to do this for me, you should do this for me, you might give or take or buy or sell or do you for me, That kind of dependence we're going to call codependence. And if I'm always saying, I can do this, and I can do that, and I know this, and I know that, that's what Covey is referring to as independence. We're not depending upon another person for another person for everything we do. We have that ability to make decisions for ourselves and to live this life in a manner that we think is the best way for us. So then in comes the interdependence, because let's face it, there is no such thing as complete independence. So, you know, all my life I've railed against this idea here in this Western culture about this rugged individualism and this independence that we can pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, as it were, and we can conquer this, that, or the other thing or the world. Because we can't by ourselves. We don't even stop to think, and I was thinking I was going to say something like the hundreds or the thousands, or maybe I'd get really crazy and say the millions of other people that we have to depend on for everything we do every day. But anymore, I think I don't want to limit it to millions. I mean, we got probably 8 billion people on the planet, and every one of them, we are dependent upon in some fashion or another. This is a really basic and really rough kind of analogy, but think about your car. You can have a plain and simple car, you can have one with all the bells and whistles, but all of them are going to have roughly the same sorts of things. They have a mechanism whereby you steer, they have little mirrors that you look out the window to see, what's going on behind you and beside you. And they have a power and motivation and blah, blah, blah. Well, if one of those pieces falls off the car, is your car still whole? No. Will it still function? Yes. Okay, I can lose the mirror, and I can still drive the car, and it still looks great if you look from the other side, the TV side, as we call that. And is the mirror still a mirror? Sure it is. It's still a mirror. It's just laying on the side of the road. It's reflecting. It's just not reflecting in a manner that helps me. And kind of life is like that. We can have people fall apart from our trajectory, from our vehicle as we move through the world. And that makes us just a little bit less complete than we were before. Now, if we lose somebody very close to us, we understand that immediately, right? I mean, right now, we get the full brunt of that. But I don't think we get as concerned if somebody over on the other side of the world passes from this existence, and we don't even very often even know about it, but if we do, we say, well, that's too bad, and my condolences, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, we've lost something because we are interdependent. We always talk in this teaching, especially about interconnectedness, okay? And we are interconnected. And if we're in this teaching, we understand that. I mean, that's a basic tenet of our philosophy. We are interconnected. But don't lose sight of the fact that interconnected means interdependent. You can't be interconnected without being interdependent. My arms are connected to me. I'm not independent of them, but they are interdependent with me. They depend on me, and I depend on them for a number of things. So we've got codependence, independence, and interdependence. We can get by without codependence, and we love to have that independence because that's what keeps us moving forward, but we can't lose sight of the fact that that interdependence is integral. It's part and parcel of who and what we are. So we're not just interconnected, we are interconnected. You get that difference? We're not just, I say, oh yeah, we are one. Well, we are one. And what affects you somehow affects me. And we talk about, especially this month, the month of July, we talk about freedom. And everybody knows it's the 4th of July that we celebrated. And that noted our, as in this country, our ancestors' independence from England. Did they become independent? No, of course not. We became independent in that we didn't have to any longer subjugate ourselves to their laws. But did we have independence? No, because what was the first thing that happened? First thing that happened once our independence was here. We had to sit down and write a body of laws. We're always going to be under the auspices of laws. Natural laws, human laws. We're never going to be free of them or independent of them, but we are independent with them. Because without them, there's chaos, right? Without them, there's no order. There's no orderly society. And that means that we're all in this together. And they were very clear about fashioning the rules and the laws for our society, our new colonial society, now American society. And they were very careful to try to include every possible thing that could happen. I mean, they were trying to look forward to everything that might come up. And they did a very good job of it. A very good job. But sometimes, and it's this human condition, and I keep thinking and hoping that this is going to change, that we're going to eventually see less and less and less of man's inhumanity to man, of people in a society, in a group, having for some reason to be more than everybody else, more rich than, more important than, more significant than. And you know, all of my life, and just because you're here or listening, I'm sure it's the same with you. All of my life, I've been in support of every cause that has come down the way. Because I know for a fact that if anybody comes to me trying to engage my help in limiting the freedom of somebody else, they will, one day they will be trying to get somebody else's help to limit my freedom. So it doesn't matter what the group is. If it's a group of people, skin color, sexual preference, gender, whatever it is, it has to be the case that we are all in support of them not losing their freedom. Because if we are one in support of that happening, it will eventually happen to us. And two, we can be in support of it without being in support of it. Simply by not speaking up against it, we are in support of it. You know, this new thing for the old problem, but this lingo that they have now, the bumper sticker, the signs are holding up, is silence is violence. Well, it is, because our silence about somebody else maybe losing their freedom, their independence, is violent toward them, or at least it's allowing that violence to happen toward them. These days, I say, I have to be on your side because one of these days, the same people who want to limit your freedom may decide that the object of their terror is gray-haired old men. Used to be long brown-haired young men. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't matter what the description is. We are so interdependent that if we don't defend the freedom of everybody, then we are allowing our own freedom, our own independence to be whittled away. So, let's move on. That's my little tip of the hat to the 4th of July. So, Meister Eckhart said so many years ago that for God to be is to give. Right? Isn't that what God does? God gives. God gives life. Rebirthing constantly, always. And for us as humans, to be is to receive life. Okay? So for God it's to give, for humans it's to receive. Even God needs us for interdependence. God is dependent upon us to express in ways that allows this consciousness that creates all beings to experience itself. And we, of course, are dependent for everything, not just our freedom, on God. So our true self is a received self. God's true self is a given self, or a giving self. Ours is the received or the receptive part of that. And because ours is a received life, it's also a shared life. Because if we are the objects of expression of God, we are very similar in that regard. And I just want to say again, it's not just similar, we are the same. There is no difference between us. Oh, we might look a little different. We might speak a different language. We might have different, dare I say, peccadillos. Or we may have different likes and dislikes, different things we do really well and different things that we don't do so well. But this is a received life. It's given to us. We don't have to do anything to deserve it. We don't have to deserve God's love and life. But we do have to receive it, and we have to know that as we're receiving it, so is every other expression on this planet. It's shared. And because it's shared, it's interdependent. I can't be me without you. Or you, or you, or you. And you can't be you without me. Well, you could be a version of you, and I could be a version of me, but we can't be the real, the true, the whole me without everybody else. You know, we could just blow everything off and move to a cave up high in the Himalayas. And some people do that. And have absolutely nothing to do with the chaos of the world below us. But are we free? And are we independent? Well, some of them may feel like they're free because they have the freedom to not be involved in so many of the things that the rest of the world has to be involved in just by virtue of us living in community. But are they independent? Absolutely not. There is no thing as independence on its own. And in those 7 effective habits of successful people that Stephen Covey was talking about, we can only be interdependent if we are independent, meaning we have to understand that we have some say in this, that we're independent as opposed to being codependent and needing somebody else to direct us. But when we move from dependence to interdependence, That's not allowing somebody to direct us. That's allowing us to understand that we are part and parcel of the whole, of the conglomerate. That everybody, we're all in this together. So, are you independent or free living on the top of the mountain? No. No. Don't we have to eat? Don't we have to have enough security to lay down and sleep? You know, we humans probably began somewhere back on the savannah in Africa, having to get up every morning and figure out what they were going to eat. Now, we're omnivores, so of course if we got tired of eating plants, we might snag a little animal that we could remove the freedom from and the independence from and cook and eat. But that's not freedom, and that's not independence. Every one of those people, humans, everybody who started out there, spent all day thinking about and looking for and getting something to eat, and when they weren't doing that, they were always on the lookout, always wary for animals who were willing to eat them. So you were either being a predator or you were being prey, and you know what? That pretty much takes up all day. There weren't any movie theaters to go to. There weren't any group picnics to get together on. The entire existence was spent staying alive. Here comes the freedom of interdependence. When I understand that my staying alive, that my living and enjoying and fulfilling myself and my role in an expression of God is because you are doing your part, your share. And the people on the other side of the world who I am never going to meet, never going to see, listen to, hear about, are doing their part, I can live my life here. And I can live it accepting the freedom that comes with that, with the interdependency. Because I don't have to go out and till the soil. I don't have to go out and plant the seeds. I don't have to raise the chickens that lay the eggs, and I don't have to drive the truck that takes them to market. And I don't have to own the market. And this is like, all of these things that we can immediately think of like that, they're the tip of the iceberg. That's 1/1000th% of the things that everybody else in the world does for us all the time. The stuff we wear comes from where? It comes from the other side of the world. Do we stop to think about that? We don't have to grow the cotton, till the soil, pick the cotton, put it on the spinning wheel, turn it into some kind of thread, and then turn around and design and sew. We don't have to do any of that. We have the freedom to not do that. We have the freedom to just go down to the store and get what we want. And we couldn't do that without depending on all those people in the world, everybody else in the world who's doing their part or doing their share. Mother Teresa said something that really, really speaks to me about this point. She just said that, sometimes we've just forgotten that we belong to each other. And don't we? God, I'm guilty of that. Don't we sometimes just forget that we belong to each other? And we don't belong just to the people in our philosophy. It's not just us that belong to each other. We belong to each other on a global basis. Yeah, you know what that means. If we have somebody who makes a concerted effort in restricting the freedom of others, that's part of our interdependence also. We have to curtail that, contain that, but at the same time have to understand that that's part of the human condition. So in other words, for us to remove ourselves from those negative things, those things that result in behaviors and life things, conditions that we don't like, we have to understand that they go on and they're thought up of. It's not like the wind. It's not like a tsunami coming through. These things are thought up. They're not natural. They're thought up by people to try to limit our freedom and our independence. And we, at that point, when we realize that, we have to say no. If I want to maintain what I'm calling independence, because we do call it that, we say we're independent. We don't say, oh yeah, he's a very interdependent young man, or she's a very independent or interdependent young lady. No, we say they're very independent, especially those little 2-year-olds, right? Very independent little souls. So we say that, but we have to, in the back of our minds, realize that what we're really saying is interdependent. And I cannot be independent without you. You cannot be independent without me. We depend on each other in ways that we will never, ever, ever even fully realize. And in lieu of that full realization, let's just always turn back to Mother Teresa, saying that we've forgotten we belong to each other. Because we can remember that. There's a lot of things we can't remember, a lot of things we can't call to mind immediately, but we can call that to mind. Think of that as our own private little bumper sticker. We've forgotten we belong to each other. And as long as we can recall that message and do something about it, we can then actively, aggressively, presently remember each other and the influence we have on one another. So it's a shared life, it's a received life, it's received from God, it's shared with God and with all other versions of this shared and received life. And that is the freedom we get from the interdependence when we know that to be the case. So please, let's just keep in mind that without each other, or was it Ram Dass who said, we're all just walking each other home? And we are, because we're interdependent on one another. So as long as we know that, we can walk each other home. And we can always remember that we belong to each other. Thank you. Let's just know, let's just take this into prayer, knowing that our deepest freedom is not freedom to do what we want. Our deepest freedom is the freedom to become who God wills us to be. Like the master teacher Jesus said, not my will, Lord, but thine. We can become everything God put us on this planet to be, as long as we do not lose sight of the fact that we do it in community, we do it with each other and because of each other. And we can only do it with the help we give and receive from each other. So again, if we just ask with every thought, with every action, with every deed, with every word we speak, ask ourselves, does this take me closer to God? Closer to the oneness that is between me and every other being. Not just human being, between me and every other expression of God. I know that we have this freedom to choose. We have the freedom to choose to recognize our interdependence and make our life so much fuller and so much more meaningful because of it. And knowing that this is the case, I just say, thank you, God. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity. Thank you for allowing us to be so completely and totally dependent on each other that without any one part of us, the whole rest feels a little sense of loss. I just release this word into that law, that spiritual law that always says yes, that says yes to my freedom, yes to my independence and my interdependence, and yes to life as the expression of God, the way God wills it. I let this word go, knowing it is already done. It's with a heart full of gratitude. I just say, thank you, God. And together we say, so it is.
I'm thankful, so grateful. I'm one in the spirit all around me. I'm thankful, so grateful. I trust in God.
Ah, yes, so this brings us to that part of the service where normally, were we all here together in community, we would have our ushers come forward and we'd greet each other and we'd offer up our gifts, our tithes, our offerings. And I can't think of any reason not to still do it even though we're not all here together. So just remembering that this center does its good work in the world and stays solvent, if you will, by virtue of your gifts and tithes and offerings. So please remember us. You can send these in. You can go to the donate button on the website. You can just stop by and drop them off and get just a little touch of that personal interaction if you want. So we do thank you. We thank you for your continued support in all manners. Let's just say our affirmation together. Do we have that? I live in a universe of abundance. As freely I give and joyfully give, I join the divine flow. All that I share with life returns to me multiplied abundantly, and so it is. Thank you.
I've seen my share of struggles when I thought that I knew best, when I've sailed through the storm instead of stopping to rest. And it always seems the hardest when I made up my stubborn mind. But I'm changing my ways this time. Wanna be like water coming down the mountain in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Wanna be like water and uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. Have you ever seen an eagle head straight into the wind? He doesn't look to fight, spreads his wings and just gives in. And in the end he always makes it home just fine. I guess he knows that every storm subsides. I wanna be like water coming down the mountains in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Wanna be like water and uphill no more. I am bound for the sea. I'll let nature take its course, for thinking that I know where this river's meant to go. I've railed against the stars for the cards that I've been dealt, for the lottery I never won, for the heartache that I felt. But it always seems when I let go of expectations and regrets, life has plenty of surprises for me yet. I wanna be like water coming down the mountains in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream. Wanna be like water and uphill no Going down the mountains in the shadowy canyons, going from pool to stream, gonna be like water, never feel no more. I am bound for the sea.
Oh yeah, once again, Tommy Cotantino, thank you. If that didn't have you popping your fingers and wiggling around in your jammies and your sweats while watching this, I don't know what will. So, please recall that our practitioners are always here for you. We are available. You can call us, and you can call here to the center. You can call us individually. You can email. Anything you want prayer for, we're here and available and eager to do it with you. So please remember that. And you can do it through the website as well. So you can get our numbers from there, or you can actually submit a prayer request through there, or you can do it by email. So those email updates go out every Wednesday. If you don't get them for some reason, please call Tomoko, and she will make sure that that failure to get to you will be remedied, and you will have those newsletters. You can find us at www.cslfullerton.org, I believe, right? So we're just available by mail, by phone, on the website, in person. Come on down. Let's just know something wonderful is happening to me right now. It's happening in my mind. It's happening in my heart. It's happening in my soul. And it's happening because of our interdependence. It's happening to me because it's happening to you, and it's happening to you because it's happening to me. So knowing this together, let's just say, thank you, God. Thank you, God.